What if the secret to understanding life is not to speak more, but to listen more deeply? Pythagoras is known for mathematics, but his greatest insights came not from numbers, but from silence. Could quiet observation be the missing key to a life of clarity, balance, and inner peace? When people hear the name Pythagoras, they often think of triangles and geometry. The Pythagorean theorem is taught in schools across the world, etched into the minds of students as a rule of right angles. But behind the formula was a philosopher far deeper than most realize. Pythagoras was not only a mathematician. He was a mystic, a seeker, a man who believed that the structure of the universe could be known, not through noise, but through listening. He built a community, not just of scholars, but of disciples, devoted to a way of life that valued simplicity, discipline, and above all, observation. In his school, students often took a vow of silence for years. They were not allowed to speak their thoughts until they had mastered the art of listening. Why? Because Pythagoras believed that wisdom is not the result of speaking loudly. It is the result of perceiving deeply. To him, silence was not emptiness. It was a tool, a path, a way to tune the mind like an instrument. He saw the universe as music, a harmony of movement, vibration, and rhythm, and only a quiet mind could begin to hear its song. He taught that every soul carries within it a hidden order. But most people are too distracted, too noisy, too restless to notice. We speak before we think. We judge before we see. We react before we reflect. And so we miss what is most essential. We miss the subtle patterns, the quiet truths, the soft voice of wisdom. Pythagoras wanted his students to slow down, to observe nature, to watch the stars, to feel the rhythm of breath, to understand that the cosmos is not chaotic, but ordered, and that this order reveals itself only to those who wait, who observe, who approach with humility. In his philosophy, mathematics was not just numbers. It was sacred language, a key to the invisible structure of life. He saw harmony in ratios, peace in proportion, beauty in balance, but all of it began in stillness, in the willingness to stop speaking and start perceiving, in the discipline of attention. He believed that the person who talks too much cannot hear truth. That noise, both external and internal, blinds us. He taught that wisdom does not enter a cluttered mind. That clarity is not added to us. It is uncovered when the dust of distraction settles. This is why the first phase of training in his school was not argument or writing. It was observation. Watching how people behave, watching your own thoughts arise, watching nature unfold without interference. Because only through observing life do we begin to understand it. Pythagoras knew that many people want answers quickly. They want certainty, action, results. But he believed that the truest answers emerge not from urgency, but from patience, not from control, but from communion. He taught that reality does not reveal itself to those who demand it, but to those who respect it. To Pythagoras, the universe was not a chaotic place of randomness, but a cosmos, a word that means order, beauty, and harmony. He believed that everything in existence moves according to patterns, and those patterns could be felt, measured, and understood. He did not view numbers as cold symbols but as living expressions of truth. For him, mathematics was sacred, not just a science, but a spiritual path. He saw the same harmony in the stars as he did in music. He believed that the movement of the planets created what he called the music of the spheres, a sound too subtle for the human ear to hear, but present nonetheless. Each planet moved in rhythm. Each body held its note. Together, they formed a cosmic symphony that mirrored the harmony of a balanced soul. This was not a metaphor to him. It was reality. He believed that by studying numbers, you could learn the language of the universe. That geometry and ratio were not inventions, but discoveries, reflections of an eternal order already written into the bones of existence. And he taught his students that this same harmony existed within. The soul, like a stringed instrument, could be tuned, and just like an instrument, when out of tune, it created distortion, suffering, and confusion. But through reflection, simplicity, right living, and observation, the soul could return to harmony, could become music again. He believed that every human being had a purpose, not given by society, but written in the very nature of their soul. And the way to discover that purpose was not by striving outward, but by turning inward, observing one's desires, habits, fears, and thoughts, seeing which impulses disturbed the inner harmony, and which ones restored it. He also taught the importance of proportion in life, not just in art or architecture, but in thought, behavior, and emotion. Excess, whether of pleasure, pain, speech, or silence, was disharmony. The wise life, he believed, was one of balance, a life where no part dominates, where each moment is placed in proper relation to the whole. This was not asceticism. It was not about denying joy. It was about refinement, about becoming sensitive to what nourishes your soul and what dulls it. It was about living deliberately, with clarity and grace, so that each choice fits the rhythm of your deeper self. And the key to all of this, again, was observation, quiet, careful, persistent observation, to see patterns where others see chaos, to recognize that nothing happens in isolation, that even your smallest thought is part of a larger motion. He believed that those who observe quietly will begin to hear the language of the world, not through voices, but through patterns, not through noise, but through proportion. He taught that numbers were like footprints of truth. They reveal the shape of what cannot be seen directly. In this way, Pythagoras invited his students to become philosophers not through debate, but through perception, to look not only at the world, but into it, to see not just surfaces, but structures, to understand that truth is not imposed, it is revealed, and the one who learns to see quietly will come to see deeply. For Pythagoras, knowledge was never the goal in itself. The real goal was transformation. He did not want people to become walking encyclopedias. He wanted them to become wise. And wisdom, in his view, could not be rushed, purchased, or memorized. It had to be lived. Slowly, quietly, in harmony with both inner and outer nature. Living the Pythagorean way means returning to silence, not as escape, but as strength. It means choosing depth over noise, reflection over reaction, simplicity over excess. It is not a rejection of the world, but a refinement of how you walk through it, a slowing down so you can see the threads that others miss. It starts in the small things: eating with attention, speaking with purpose, noticing the patterns in your moods, asking why before you act, honoring proportion in your schedule, your habits, your relationships. This is not about being rigid. It is about restoring balance, becoming intentional with your time, your presence, your life. It also means being humble before reality. Pythagoras taught that truth is vast, and the human mind is small. That is why he valued quiet observation, not because it gives easy answers, but because it prepares the mind to see what is real. You do not gain wisdom by forcing insight. You prepare the soil, and then you wait, and slowly, wisdom grows. He believed that the soul, like the cosmos, has laws, and when you live in tune with those laws, you feel peace, not because life is easy, but because you are aligned. You are not fighting the river. You are flowing with it. In our modern world, this message is more urgent than ever. We are drowning in noise, constant input, constant distraction. We are taught to speak louder, respond faster, scroll further. But Pythagoras would ask, what are we missing in all that motion? What truth is waiting in the silence we avoid? He would tell us that wisdom begins the moment we stop rushing and start observing. When we begin to see our lives not as random events, but as patterns revealing something deeper. When we stop chasing and start listening. To live a Pythagorean life does not mean living in isolation. It means becoming aware, treating each moment as part of a greater harmony, listening for the rhythm beneath the chaos, valuing inner order over outer noise. You do not need to be a mathematician to follow this path. You only need to begin with silence, to become curious, to slow down, to observe, and in time, you will begin to feel the hidden music of your own life. Not because someone tells you, but because you have trained your soul to hear it. And in that moment, you will understand what Pythagoras truly meant, not with your intellect, but with your being. Thank you for joining us in this reflection on Pythagoras and the power of quiet observation. In a world that teaches us to speak, to shout, to chase, he reminds us to stop, to watch, to wait, and to listen. So here is our question for you. What happens in your life when you slow down and observe without judgment? Share your experience in the comments. Let's build a space where silence is honored, and reflection is welcome. And if this message brought clarity to your day, we invite you to subscribe and continue your journey with us here on the Life Philosophy channel. Until next time, stay quiet, stay aware, and let the patterns of life reveal their wisdom to you.